What's going on, Tamers? Welcome to DigiPod, the digital podcast. I'm your boy Varney, today in the studio with my boys Dan and Adrian. I almost said Mike and Dan.
What's up, brothers?
I caught myself.
Man,
Yo,
this is like deja vu. Something like, didn't we do this already or something? I don't know. I feel
Adrian,
like this. I feel like we's very familiar today. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Dun dun dun.
There are no bloopers.
No,
There are
never.
no bloopers. There are no behind the scenes footage to be released on an unnamed YouTube membership.
Not at
That
all.
would be good.
For like quick 5 minutes or something. I don't know. It was like it's weird. Like I said, I feel like we've done this before. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
Well, today, the star of the podcast is Adrian. Adrian has come to me and say, Varney, listen, I have topic to talk on pod. And I said, all right,
Is that how you sound like?
have at it. No, it's not.
I was just gonna say, what is that accent?
This man thought he was the Godfather for a sec.
What? Yeah, what is that?
That's what he was trying to do. Was be like the Godfather or
That was so
something.
bad.
Varney, I come to
That's
you
so
with topic. I talk
That's
topic.
Dracula.
That was Dracula.
Well, what is he saying? Hotel Transylvania. He thought that he doesn't say.
I know what you're talking about.
De blah or some shit like that.
Yeah.
I am not Dracula. De blah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh no.
I watch too much kids movies.
Hey, well, you have kids. It makes sense.
Yes, this is true. I have kids.
Yeah.
Or you're
One
trying to
is
say
6.
that it's not because you have kids and you watch kids movies just because you like kids movies? Is that what you were about to say?
Kids movies are goated. You
Oh,
remember
okay.
Scooby
Kids movies
Doo?
are great.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
put on
that was
Scooby Doo
great.
and the Cyber Chase, the Cyber Ghost one from late
That
90s,
was
early 2000s.
The first 4 are like the go-to Scooby-Doo movies. I think it's 4.
Bro, that movie was so good. I'm like, damn, this movie's good. Like, I don't care if this is made for kids. This is good.
Yeah,
But-
for sure.
I digress. Adrian has a topic for us today, so we're going to be talking about Adrian's topic a little bit later on. First thing we got to talk about is locals, but psych, there was no locals to talk about because it was regional weekend. It was not a happy regional weekend, however. Dan and I did not have the best of times. We had, one could say, the worst of times.
Yikes.
So, Dan, rock, paper, scissors for who goes first. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. You go first. You lost.
All right, cool. Sounds good. I wasn't doing all that at that moment. I was legit gonna spit out, like, say the word rock, and then you just showed scissor. I was like, all right, never mind. You want to actually do it. Oh, man. The highs and lows of regionals, I swear. It's so
The
annoying.
highs and lows. That is true.
I had the highs of highs and the lows of lows.
Damn. That sucks.
Started out 3-0, feeling great, feeling good about the deck, just to go 0-3 after that and then drop because there was no point. I was not getting anything. And especially since it ended up being shorter than usual.
7 rounds.
You had to be X1 to make top 16, and I was already X2, and I was like, I think I'm just gonna drop this to call it a day. And Vardy's like, you got a chance for top 16 still. I was like, I wasn't feeling it. And when I went to round 6, I wasn't like feeling the game. I was like, I don't care. I will go watch WrestleMania. Which, side note, like, not to get off real quick, WrestleMania, pretty good. If anybody wants to watch it.
Lit.
Anyways, I played Numon because I didn't know what else to play, and I was like, I've been excited to play the deck. I just didn't get around to playing it, and I finally got to testing it out like the week or 2 prior. I think we started a little play testing, not like hard play testing. I wish I would have did a little bit more because I probably would have made the changes I made. If I did, I feel like those changes is what kind of messed it up for me. Give or take, I don't know if it really did or not, like hindsight, but like I felt like it did because I felt like those cards were useless to me. I'll get into those changes in a bit, but I went black base Numon with the Agumon package, cool boy stuff, top end Platinum, Quantum, and Venusmon with the level 7s of Dex and Shine Guru mode. I kind of want to specify because a lot of Numon decks have different different low ends, different top ends, because that's the coolest thing about the deck.
It's very versatile, yeah.
Is that it's probably one of the most versatile decks we've had in a while. Maybe not in a while, but like it's one of those decks that's like super versatile where you could do different things and whatnot. And so breakdown wise, round 1 I played War Greymon. I won at 2-0. He unfortunately break both games and it was not good for him. I just out aggroed it. Round 2 I played the mirror match against shout out to Ride My Avatar Kyle. Played against him. Won that 2-1. Game 1 I took control of it pretty early and then I just stayed in control. Game 2 I was playing a little dumb, I'm not gonna lie. I should have been way more aggro than I was because he bricked hard and then he only played one thing and I couldn't get rid of it, but I was swarming the board and not attacking because I was hoping to get to the Monze X and I never got the Monze X at that point. And so I should have been swinging early, and then he ended up just because he was drawing constantly, but he wasn't seeing the pieces he needed. He just ended up drawing to the pieces he needed, and he eventually dexed me for like free, and then like got rid of my board state, and then he was just board controlling himself, and then that was GG. Game 2, a little bit. It was a back and forth, and then I got him with my own dex play, and then a ruin mode. I did a ruin for ruin. He ruined me. I was like, all right, bet I'll go into a ruin mode. Swing,
a ruin for
kill.
ruin.
Yeah, what the hell was that sentence?
Legit, that's what it was. It was legit a ruin for ruin mode, you know what I'm saying?
He ruined his ruin mode, you know?
Exactly.
Oh man, that's funny.
Exactly. Barney gets it. Anyways, and that's what actually like turned the tide of the game because he had full board control when he did that moment. And I had enough memory to do a lot of shenanigans to get to it and then kill his ruin mode. And then board control from that point, and then ended up winning after that. Round 3, I had another mirror against Numamon. I won that one 2-0. Guy was salty because I kept drawing to Monzimon, and he didn't, I guess it was. I don't know what it was. Because he was like, side note, for anybody knows, if you're playing the mirror match, don't give your opponent 3 memory. So I knew that off the rip when I knew he was playing it, but he kept giving me the 3 off the rip. All right. Turn 0? You're gonna drop the Garymon? Great, appreciate it. I'll drop my own Numa X, Monze, kill yours. I have straight board control and tempo now. And that's basically what happened both games. Just gave out the secret nugget on how to, play the mirror. Early game wise. And then that was legit the reason why I won because of that. He had like comebacks and he was making plays, but like just because I had that early, quick tempo early was what changed the game. Mazumon clutch. And then round 4 happened. Your boy was on stream, on DigiPod stream. So that was like more my issue. My issue was playing against Divas and trying to figure out how to deal with that matchup because I did not practice that matchup at all. I know what Divas does, so I was just taking the knowledge I had from the previous testing of Nats. And I was just kind of playing on the fly with it. Hopefully I saw the pieces I needed. Fortunately, I did not. Both games, I got them down to 0 security, and all I needed was either the Satsuki or the Numamon for rush for game. And I had plenty of memory because Davis just gives you a lot of memory. And I just never had it. And I feel like I had a small misplay that might have been in game 1, what changed it. I had a Monze X, so it could do 2 checks. What I should have done was put the Satsuki underneath it, give it jamming because I needed to live, and it didn't have big bodies a lot of times. So I was never guaranteed 2 checks. And the first check was like a ace card, so killed it. And then that kind of just like, I had plays after that, and like I was thinking that was my play, but like, because the judge forced me to do the attack anyways, because I was like, all right, I was like, thinking of declaring an attack, but I was like, all right, let me attack, but I was holding the card still, and I didn't do the full like transition, and then when I stopped, he was like, you declared attack, you need to do the attack. So I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So I did attack, swung, and I got plays out of it because that was my idea, but then I was like, wait a minute, I kind of realized too late, but like it was one of those things. Ended up losing because Fang Long is just, I can't do anything with the way the deck is built currently. Fang Long, the moment that card drops, is GG's. It was just board control and next 16k whenever he feels like, and you don't even need next thing. You just pull one away and kill the whole board basically because everything new mon is 2k, Uko's 2k. Yeah. My Agumons are 2, 3k. What else? Like Monza X. All right, cool. I'll just take out 2. That's 8k. That's killing everything else that's on board, stuff like that. They've
also got Zhu Chao and a Zulong, all of which are hard counters.
Yeah, I wasn't even worried about that because I had at least a counter to that counter in like War Mazimon GT's Evolve. Or if I can neg him enough, I can kill it. Or Dexmon. Dexmon actually came up in that matchup being able to, because he had like 2 Jedi and like an analog youth and then like 3 or 4 bodies. So it ended up being like a 2-cost Dex or something like that.
And then even more once that ace overflow
exactly the ace overflow actually came through and stuff. I was even hard playing the War Mazimon just to de-digivolve and gain all that memory back because it didn't feel bad. I just didn't have enough to push for games at time, and that's what it was. GG. So I was like, all right. I knew it once after round 3 happened. Sometimes I just downhill, and then once I have a loss, it's over. Usually I just spiral out, and that's what happened. I played Red Hybrid, and I had like not the greatest hands. I couldn't really do much, especially in one game I had 5 Monzies in hand as a starting hand. That is not good after a mulligan. Not saying that's the reason why I lost, but it is what it is type of thing, I feel like I could have definitely played it better. In my head, I feel like I could have won. It was definitely winnable. And I just felt like I was just... sometimes when I take that first L, I have to recover. And if I don't win quick enough, then like I like start like just be annoyed because it's like, all right, I should have won or something. Whatever it is, I just kind of sprawl out and I ended up losing. And that's what happened. That one. And then I didn't really want to play round 6. Bavari's like, play round 6. I was like, fine, whatever. So I was already in the mindset of like, I didn't care about it. So like, again, I think I played Red Hybrid again, back-to-back Red Hybrid. Felt like it was winnable again. But I was misplaying. Like there was times I was swinging where I shouldn't have when I needed a blocker because I had a Quantumon. I should have left the Quantumon be a blocker and not swing with it. Stuff like that. I was just making stupid mistakes at that point because it was like I didn't care. And then ended up just being 3-3. Probably would have been 3-4 if I would have played the round 7 at that rate I was going. But yeah, that's how mine was.
Mine's wasn't too much better. I started out strong. I started out 2-0. I faced first Melga, I believe it was. Yeah, I played against Melga first. And that was both my first 2 matches were nice. I played against Melga, then I played against Mirage. It's a lot of back and forth. Melga doing Melga things until they couldn't. My opponent also forgot some of their effects in terms of letting things die when he had battle protection. Not that it mattered. I was going to get it off the board one way or another. But he definitely felt like he had some foresight. Well, it's that thing where you're like, damn, I should have done this instead. And you realize that like the play after you do it. Because he passed turn with just level 6. And I was like, oh, you're fucked now, buddy. Because he had no security. And all I needed was just one swing. And I was like, you can't establish a blocker in that deck. I was like, well, you can. But generally, Melga players don't try to establish blocker because they're so aggro. I was like, you're fucked, buddy. I don't care how much money I give you. Drop that Helugar for 7, put him to like 6, pop that. He didn't have the evade Melga, which was a pain in my ass the first time he did it. He just went for the straight Melga X. And I was like, yeah, get that out of here. Let's go to game 3. Because we had like 5 minutes left to do this game 3. So 5 minutes plus 5 minutes overtime. And I was like, I don't want to tie. If I tie, I'm going to be so upset with myself. I was like, we need to finish this as soon as possible. I don't know how I did it, but somehow I did it. I think Demonic Disaster might have helped. I think that might have been what it is. I don't know. A Demonic Disaster came up for me a lot. I guess I should. If y'all didn't know I was playing Fenry, I guess I should have said that from the door. But Demonic Disaster is really nice. I love that card in deck. It's like, cool. I get an extra swing. Because what happens is more often than not, I don't get to get my Black Auto in trash. So I'm never, on my Fenry play, I'm not really able to play out Black Auto. So you generally have 2 swings with Alliance, and then you just have that 3rd random unsuspended body. So the demonic disaster lets you delete one of your Digimon, unsuspend. So delete it, unsuspend Fenry. And then I get my third alliance check, which has definitely come up a lot. My second match against Mirage, Uncle Sam sitting there waiting for his memory tax was a pain in my ass. So I was trying to keep myself as low on cards as possible throughout the entire match. But this man, I think I played against Chungman. I didn't even realize it till afterwards. But this man's was like, how many cards do you have in hand? I was like, I got 4. I was like, you're not getting anything, Chief. He was like, I bet. Bro, I don't know how, but I ended up with 8 cards in hand. Damn. I was like, what the? Yeah, I was like, what the hell?
You max seed at the wrong time.
You really did.
You failed the challenge. That's crazy.
Yeah, bro. I had 4 cards in hand and he got me up to 8. I was like, wow.
That's impressive.
I didn't expect that.
So I would assume he had, I don't know what the plays, but like maybe you had Digimon board, Zudo bounce. So that would be 5. Maybe a tamer that both lets you draw. I think it is, right? Mirage.
Yeah, so I think what it was he dropped a Gaomon to draw, make us both draw 1.
Both draw 1.
Yeah.
I definitely did have a Digimon on board. He made me draw or put that to hand.
Okay.
And then he didn't bounce any security to hand. I might have had 2 Digimon on board and he bounced them both to hand.
Crazy.
But I don't know, bro. Like somehow he got me to 8 cards in hand and I was just like, damn. My second game.
I mean, he deserves to win at that point.
Right. One of the games I was like bricked up. I had like 2 Hell and 2 Soul in hand, and I was like, I don't even have a champion to Digivolve on to make this like a worthwhile play. So I was just like, well, there's nothing else to do, and if I don't do something, it's probably not gonna work out either way. So I was just like, screw it, we hard drop. I lost that game to nobody's surprise. But the last game. Again, I don't remember how I won. I think, he built a stack on a Zudo Ace. Ooh. So, building a stack on a Zudo Ace against Fenry. I was like, cool. I just need to make sure I'm not adding any cards to my hand before I pop that stack, which was the biggest issue. Because at that time, I had...
You just Hellugar them, right?
No, well, I didn't. I needed to push for game. Because I didn't have much... security, or there was a way he could have won for sure. So I was like, I need to push, and he's cracked. I'm pushing. Sorry, it's a comment from if you guys watch Inevitably Dope. That's a comment that he regularly makes on his commentary videos, and it's so funny. It just popped into my mind for no reason. He's cracked. I'm pushing.
That's got to be a Warzone reference from Call of Duty. He's cracked. I'm pushing.
That's probably what it is.
It has to be. I've never heard that in context anywhere else. He's cracked. I'm pushing. Yeah, I can see it. I can see the visual of that happening. Oh man,
that's exactly
PTSD.
What it was. I was like, he's cracked. I'm pushing. I'm gunning for it because I don't have any other
t-shirt
choice.
Made. That's such a good thing. To say.
I know, it's so funny.
Oh, man.
So yeah, I had to go for it, and I was able to. My only issue is I wasn't able to play out. I think I only played out 2 bodies instead of the 3 off of Fenry. I also didn't get to play 1 off of Soul. Because it just wouldn't have mattered. It didn't matter what way I sequenced it. I just couldn't play out the Tyrannomon. So I was like, damn, but it is what it is. Luckily, popping the Zudo Ace helped. I might have had the Demonic Disaster or a Black Gato from hand or something. I don't remember what it was, but however, I ended up winning that game. And then my downfall started. I played against Numon, against Chris Pierre. If you guys don't know who Chris Pierre is, he's a member of Luxury Gaming. And this is the same guy that I lost round 3 to in the last tournament that I participated in when he was playing Anubismon. And I was like, yikes. Fuck. Now, great player. Like, he's a great player. At the time, I was playing... I don't even know what I was playing. Oh, I was playing the Ultimate Cup. I don't remember. I think I decided to play Anubismon. Was it, Dan, for Ultimate Cup? I don't remember. I played
Ultimate
something.
You played Fenrir.
Was it prior?
Oh, did I play? Oh, yeah, you're right. So, okay. So round 2 of getting my ass kicked in by the meta. So yeah, he was playing Anubis. He kicked in my ass back then. And then this weekend he was playing Numemon and kicked in my ass again. It's just, Numemon is too fast for Fenry most times. I know players Tekken like Crimson Blaze and stuff, but I'm of the opinion when it comes to Fenry that just play the damn deck to OTK because that the chance of that Crimson Blaze coming up for you in that one of a 50 card deck, if it ends up in security, where does it help? If it ends up, all the way down at the bottom of the deck, you just don't have space for it. So I just don't like running it. It's the same reason I don't like running Floodgates. Not that they help, because they have Monze X, and then they also have Woromonzemon. So it's a very versatile deck. They can get around what you do. So when you're playing Fenrir, you just got to focus on just trying to kill them before they kill you. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that. I went into round 4, and I lost to Devas this time. This is when Dan was playing on stream. And I lost to Devas. Definitely could have won that game. I just didn't have the foresight of him popping his whichever one gains the memory on deletion. I don't know which Deva that is.
One of the red ones, I think it is.
Yeah, it's one of the red ones. If on deletion, if there's a tamer in play, gain a memory, I believe.
Yeah.
I didn't have that foresight, so before I tried to go for game,
so he went Zukow and popped his own to get the sec +1.
Well, he popped it to get the memory gain while I was at -2 memory. To force Fenrir's end of turn condition.
Interesting.
To push the turn to him at 3.
That's a good play. That's a good play right there.
I had no cards in deck, so he was cracked and I was pushing.
Yeah, there you go.
He was cracked and I was pushing, and I said, "Let me go for the Fenrir play on a Chimera," because he had done 2 Azulong plays and bounced my shit back to hand. Oof. And I only had 1 more level 4, and I was like, I can't let him bounce this back to hand because I won't be able to pull off a Chimera play. So, or I can't let him delete it off of Zuchow. So I was like, let me do another Fenrir play and spit out some more bodies. So when I took that last swing, when I was at -2 memory, that's when he did the Zuchow ace to pop his own, gain the memory, force turn pass. I have no cards left in deck. That was it. And I was like,
damn, that's crazy.
I was like, that's one of those things you just learn. Like, it just happens and you're like, well, I won't make that mistake again. There's nothing you can do about, that's good matchup knowledge on his part, knowing how to get out of that sticky situation, and just me not knowing. And I know for next time now, if I'm at 2, because I was at 2 memory or something when I pulled that play off. But I had an inheritable to gain memory. So I had enough to just play Black Gato and swing for game. Unless he had the Azulong. Obviously he had the Zuchow, so it probably wouldn't have mattered in the grand scheme of things. But there's just so many things in that matchup that just makes Fenrir a little bit tough, because you have to watch your resource management. Because
for sure,
if you delete their Devas, they're deleting you. You only have so many hells that you can go through before
the sovereigns. If you're dealing the sovereigns,
right. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. If you delete the sovereigns, they take you out. So you only have so many hells that you can go through with the amount of card draw that you generate in that deck before you get into a real dicey situation. So I wasn't upset about either of those losses. I was like, damn, for next time. My 5th match, I lost to Numamon again. This man's had 3 Ukomon on board. He went Ukomon, drop whatever. And then next turn, raise, hatch new egg, digivolve another Ukomon, whatever. And I played a hell. I deleted one thing. And then the next turn he did the same shit. He put another Ukomon on board, and I was like, oh my
Ukomon.deck, baby.
I was like, I literally can't deal with this. I deleted an Ukomon. It's still gonna hatch another fucking egg.
It's a menace, bro. Ukomon is a menace, bro.
Absolutely a menace. I get why this makes me wish I was playing Digimon Emperor, but again, kind of just got to focus on what the deck does and try to do that. But
side decks,
Numamon was just too fast. Side decks would have been very useful for dealing with Numamon.
60 card decks.
Because I would have side decked Ruin Mode. I would have side decked the Digimon Emperors. I would have side decked Crimson Blazes. All those cards that I don't want to play in my main deck because I just want to focus on doing what I do. I see Numamon. Hands down, yeah, I'm citing those cards in. So I'd agree with that. I could agree with that. Now, 5 card side deck probably. I wouldn't allow anything more than 5 just because of how much Digimon decks can change with.
That's tough.
Even 5 cards. Greymon can change out an entire top end. So 5 cards I'm okay with. I'd do a 5 card side deck, but that was my tournament run, 2-3. It is what it is. I decided to put Fenrir down for the rest of I don't know. I don't know for how long, because I really like the deck, but it's just Numamon's just so damn fast. The next regional is still going to be a BT 15 regional, and I would rather just play something that can deal with Numamon easier, and then I take like the harder matchups into everything else. Just because in the past tournaments that I've participated in, Numamon has always been my issue. Because there was another tournament we had, I don't remember what it is. Just Numamon's always been my issue, and not Leviamon. And I'm like, damn, I like playing against Leviamon with Fenrir because I have the out. But I never played against Leviamon. As a matter of fact, Leviamon didn't even top. There were no Leviamon tops.
There wasn't one that made? No,
Nope.
there was one. Okay.
Nope. There are no Leviamon tops. And I'm not going back to playing Leviamon. I actually do despise that deck. I just don't care for the way that it plays.
Damn,
I was
in love with that real quick.
I was so hyped for it, and I played it, and I was like, oh my goodness, I hate this. I hate like the draw trash engine. It doesn't work for me, and everybody was playing it, so that added to it. And I was just like, screw this deck. I'm just getting rid of it. So I don't know what I'm playing next time around. I was thinking maybe try some Yellow Vaccine shenanigans, but Yellow Vaccine is Yellow Vaccine. I might just honestly play Numamon. Just because I too wanted to play Numamon. My only issue is I only have 2 RP1 Monzes, and I need to buy 2 more. And
I think I might have some.
Competitive players spend whatever they want to make decks, but I only spend what I want on what I like. And $30 gets me other cards that are not Monze Mons because I just don't think I'll enjoy the deck like that much to warrant buying those cards. That's why I haven't bought them. I don't know if I'll play Numamon. I probably won't, and I'll probably end up playing, I don't know, DigiPolice, some other bullshit. I don't know. We'll see when that time comes around.
You sound so confident.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, we'll see when that time comes around. But that was our weekend. Adrian, how was your weekend?
Busy. It's springtime. Well, it's supposed to be springtime, so so this was be last weekend? Yeah, busy. Every weekend's busy.
Every weekend
with non-Digimon related busyness.
With 4 kids, every weekend is beyond busy.
Yeah.
Adrian said, "I'm super dad." It really tries to be.
It's like a double-edged sword because I want to still be a big kid, but I gotta be an adult. So
I gotta be a big kid and also be a dad.
Right. I gotta live vicariously through you guys. So I love all the conversation, and when everybody's like beating their head against the wall in chat or in our chats, like, oh, I'm 3-0. Like Dan was like right in the high, and then it just like that sucked. But it's like I feel like I'm there even though I'm not.
Right.
I forgot to mention before the changes that were made. As probably like controversial as it's gonna sound because it's such a good card. I hated Venusmon. I felt like it did not help me win games.
To be fair, Venusmon isn't your type of card.
Absolutely not. Oh no. I did it. Like the changes I made were like stuff that I was like, all right, let me see what other Numamon decks were doing. And Venusmon was like across the board. And I was just like, I remember in the very beginning, I was like, yo, I'm not effing with Venusmon in my Numamon deck. And I was like, I ended up doing the change because I was like, well, that's everything else to do. I didn't know what else to do at the moment. I was trying to figure out quick changes here and there, right? And I felt like the Venusmon did not help me. Like, it came up a couple times, and like in hindsight, it like didn't win me the game, in my opinion. Like, it didn't help me secure the game when I needed it to be that at that moment. Like, because I played against, like, for example, Fangalon, right? I went into the Venusmon. I had to hard drop Mons X, go to Venus, and I'm just like, this does absolutely nothing for me because I can't do anything about Fangalong. And it's not like I could clear other Digimon and call it a day. It would have been all right or something. I don't know, like, what I could, like, I would have to, like, test out other stuff. But, like, because he just went, all right, cool, no problem. Fangalong swing. I'll just Digivolve one of my Devas into another Sovereign. All right, cool. Fangalong effect, trash 3 security, swing for whatever it is, like, or is it right? Trash, and then you swing. For the Fangalong effect. So it was like, it didn't even matter. It was like, all right, cool. I might have had another turn, but because I had absolutely nothing, I had like 2 cards in hand or something like that because I burned out my resources in that game. And like, you have to kind of for the Davis matchup because of just the way it works. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, just the way it is, you just have to do it for Numemon. Like, because you can't out certain things without using resources for that deck. It's not like you can like go Hell Lugar for one card and like kill something. Which is a little different in that sense. That's why you can.
Depending on what you're playing.
You can't really because they're hard dropping in 5s. You can't just War Monzimon DZ off the 5. Monzimon is not going to kill it by itself either. So you have to, do combos with it to get rid of things. So like it didn't feel like it helped. And then I did against Red Hybrid. And my guy was like, all right, bet. The option. Atomic Inferno, whatever it's called.
Yes, Atomic Inferno.
Atomic Inferno. I was like, Venusmon, you can't swing. You don't get no Digivolve effects. All right, cool, that's fine.
I'll just swing this little flame on for 3 checks at 12k.
He was like, all right, because I did it like he had a Burning Gray or something like that. He was like, all right, second attack +1, second attack +1. I'm doing 2 checks still. I'm just like, what do I do about that? You know what I'm saying? Right. It's like, I can't do anything about that. And then he went to like, I think it was like Emperor Gray at one point because he had a shit ton of memory, and then did it again at one point in a different game. I was like, all right, but you got second attack -1 and you're not popping it out of because, when Digivolve effects don't happen. Didn't care. He was like, all right, Tom Inferno game. I was like, shake your hand, GG, you know what I'm saying? Like, so like, I gotta figure out what else I like instead of Venusmon in that deck. I was testing the Shinmonze, but the Shinmonze is like,
It's a very situational card.
It's a 4-cost Evo that like sometimes won't do anything at that moment, and you have to wait an extra turn to do something with the one attacking effect if you don't keep turn with it. So I don't know. I gotta go to the drawing board on the 6s and see what I like. And then I also threw in Pillowmon because of the mirror. Because I was like, all right, cool, I'll stop my opponent from playing Digimon off effects. And 2, again, the Levi matchup. You know how many Levi's I face? 0.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't even see
that one. Card was more of a detriment to myself than it was to my opponent at times, because I was like, I can't do effects. Like the one time, like when I was in the Davis matchup, I was like, all right, cool. I did something. I think Monza X. And it had Numa X underneath it. I swung and died, but because I had the Pillowmon to stop his, like the what's it called, the on play to put things in raising, it stopped me from playing like a Platinum Numemon, I think it was, or something to like pop off, and I was just like, oh my god, this is killing me.
And you can't like, Digivolve over it because
you can. That's why I chose the Pillowmon instead of Gatomon, because Numemon. The RB01 is yellow and black. That's why I chose it. I was like, all right, cool. If I need to Digivolve over, I can with Numemon. And that actually came up. That actually effed me up against and playtesting. I think it was Blue Flare. Yeah. I had it out and I evoed over it, and then he was like, yo, I think I did it because the Gaussmon died and he played the Greymon. I was like, I haven't played Blue Flare in a minute. I forgot that happens. And as I played Digimon by effect, and then that ended up getting him the Metal Greymon and then pop off. So yeah, it was like certain things like that. I wasn't a fan of the changes I made. Back to like testing different things out that I know will work for me. A more aggro top end maybe would probably be better for me personally, or like something that actually deletes something on Digivolve or something over the Venus. We'll see what happens.
I have a quick question. Is Venusmon though, as a level 6 mega, is it designed to win you the game or just to give you another turn?
Give you another turn.
It's a control card. Okay. It's 150.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I say
fair.
It's not a Dan card, because Dan's an aggro player. Dan's not a control player. So
I mean, I can control, but like I just never liked, even like when I played like the occasional yellow control stuff every once in a while. Venusmon was a card I just never played. I played like Yellow Hybrid for like a very small window of time. I didn't even play Venusmon. It might have been because it was prior to BT10, maybe. I don't remember. And I played it once. It was like the Lothmon version. It had lower lane at the top.
Okay.
I didn't even consider the Beansmon. Again, I don't remember if that was there. But even like other yellow stuff that I've played here and there, in like, or there was a combination of yellow in the deck, like Numemon, I didn't even consider the Beansmon card. Just not for me.
What about Quantumon? Isn't Quantumon?
He loves Quantumon.
That worked. That was a lovely card, and that put in work.
But to be fair, it's a Yu-Gi-Oh card, and Dan's a former Yu-Gi-Oh player.
Yeah.
So if you put 1 + 1 together, you get 2. You know,
Love that card.
Too much text on that card. I stopped reading after like the first 3 lines. I was like, yeah. I'm not
Fantastic card. And then you go into like a room mode, and then you're like, you had the protection or something. It was kind of funny.
You don't get the protection because it's the start of your opponent's turn. But
like you get rid of something that's too big, and then go to room mode to pop everything else if you need it. It was a cool little interaction I had one time.
Yep. So moving on. Last week we had what did I call that podcast? The Quick and Dirty Beginners Masterclass.
Hey.
Part 1. You like it quick and dirty, don't you, Adrian?
Hey, yo. This is a family show.
No, it's not. This shit's rated R or rated M for mature. There we go.
Oh,
Wow.
damn, 17 plus. He really went there.
Yeah, on YouTube, they're like, is this content made for kids? No.
Hell no. But you have to do that.
It's not.
You have to do that for everything.
Yes, for COPPA. Fucking, yeah. No, it's not made for kids. Although there is some random 13-year-old out there listening to this, and I'm like,
that's the future of our country.
I saw it was like 0.1% on Spotify.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm sorry.
That is a very distinguished.
Your parents are going to hear us and go, what the fuck are you No, that's the funniest thing. They're gonna be like, what the fuck are you listening to? It's like, what the fuck did you just say? Anyways, on the Quick and Dirty Beginners Masterclass, Part 1, there is a Part 2 coming. It is not coming within the next 3 pods. It's planned to be the 4th pod from now. Don't worry, there is a Part 2 coming. I asked y'all, I know, right? I asked y'all for the Q&A. What tips and tricks do you have for beginners looking to get into competitive play? So starting with Rays_SK, they said blue hybrid. Oh, this is in response to the poll question, but they said blue hybrid is a great deck for any beginner. It helps players understand tempo, decision making, and discipline. Sax 5th Ave says speed wins. 121833523, aka Joe Mojo. Thank you for clarifying that for us. He said, find your groove. Don't worry about the time it will take. There are certain combinations and cards that will work with you. Just need to practice and find it. Jay Stort says, understand the rules and how effects resolve. That is a very big thing in this growing landscape of the Digimon rulescape. There is a lot of new timings and just general effect resolution knowledge to understand. Gino says, go to locals with the intent of winning. When you play searchers, think about your deck ratios, what cards you're bottom decking, and what's worth taking off of a search. That's a very good point. Guz Thraka says, my first tip is always play what you love. From there, it becomes how do you want to win? How will you manage problems? I'd rather let people discover their own way than guide when needed. And Smitty the Pity says, homie's just got into the game. I knew I was going to get somebody with it. Last time it was dead. It's so funny. Smitty, I love your name, by the way. Homies just got into the game, and I always tell them to get familiar with what cards do/read. Seems pretty basic, but you'd be surprised how many people don't read cards. LOL, it's in our nature.
I don't read.
Yeah, Adrian definitely does not read. Adrian reads cards every once in a while, and then he goes, have you guys seen this?
Yes, that's me 100%.
Yes, Adrian.
And they were just looking at him like, bro, that card's old. We know everything about it.
Like, if I were to read Adrian what Fenry does right now, he'd be like,
no way.
What?
Yeah, it does too much, bro. Does too much. That card does too much.
Just commenting on a couple of these, Gino, that is an absolute, not only a valid point, but that is a very big thing. And we'll touch on that when we do the part 2 of the masterclass. Knowing what your bottom decking is very big. You know that you play 4 starter deck Greymons for the Sec +1, and the Greymon X at 3 and let's just say 2 other random ass Greymons, right? Like the DP increasing ones. And you play an Agumon for a top, let's do BT5. You do a top 3 search and you're supposed to take a Greymon and you see Sec Greymon plus 1K Greymon, Sec Greymon. Your option is, do I take the one that I only have 2 of in the deck, or do I take one of the Sec plus 1 that I still have some more in the deck? And the reason that's a decision to make is it's such a crucial decision, more than some people would realize, because first of all, it all depends on what you need in that game at that moment. But if you bottom deck 2 Sec plus 1 Greymons, always remember that one could be in security, which means there's potentially one more left for you to find, and you just bottom deck those cards. You got to go through maybe 30 cards to see that Sec plus 1 Greymon again. So if you don't take it then, you might not see it. And I think that's a thing like players can very easily glance over, knowing that if they bottom deck a card, or in purple decks, if you trash a card, you might not get that card back in a timely manner. So you have to take what's most important for both the game state at that moment and the game state for 2 to 3 turns from now. Because you can't rely on, well, I might draw into this unless it's the first one that you've seen. Because it's a card game. It's variance. It's RNG. So you never know.
Yeah, and with Digimon, unfortunately, it's a game that doesn't create a lot of checkpoints where you have to shuffle your deck. So
it doesn't create any checkpoints unless you're in a world finals where the judges don't understand the game and they pick up your deck and they shuffle it because you knocked a card over.
Somebody's still salty about that. Happened 3 months ago.
I'm not salty about that. You said there was no checkpoints, and I just gave you the only checkpoint that exists in the Digimon card game.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, now with the whole trash thing, a bit with purple, like I feel like the trashing cards in purple isn't as bad because there's cards that allow you to get them back. Whether it's like a Rivals or with that Lament of Friendship card, you can get something from the trash.
Lament, yeah.
So you can use your trash as a resource, but bottom decking is the worst type of, outcome in the game because there's no way you're going to see those cards again.
All right. So
there's no like 1-for-1 tutor in Digimon where it's just like play this, grab this. It's always like top X for something.
Yep.
So those cards that you shuffle or that you put to the bottom, you're kind of never seeing again.
Yeah, I know One Piece does almost pretty much the same thing. They had as far as I know, one card in that game that searches the deck for a card. And I don't think they've printed another one since. And it's not like it was a busted card or anything. But I know I used to abuse it back in set 1 because there was a card you wanted to see. It was your ramp card, your stage card, Onigashima Island. And I played it just so that I could see how many I had in deck and how many was sitting in my life. Because One Piece is a ramp game and you need to see that. Well, yeah, One Piece is a ramp game and I was playing a ramp deck and you need to see that card ASAP. I don't think they've printed another search card since. I could be wrong because I don't keep up with it, but it's a cool thing to not have, just a straight up search for War Greymon. Search your deck for 1 War Grey X and add it to your hand if you did, whatever. Like, can you imagine what this game would be like if you could just consistently, oh, cool, I pulled into this card. All right, I get Grandis to my hand, or I get Black or Gray to my hand. Like, it's already rough when you're like, well, if they have it, they have it. Well, they have the searcher, so they definitely have it now. I mean, I said that on I was streaming my tournament run, and I had said, well, I was playing against Fanglong, and I was like, well, I literally can't finish game this turn, and there's nothing else for me to do. So if you have it, you have it. And I just flooded board, and I said, deal with the board. If you drop Fanglong, it is what it is. But if you don't, I win. And guess what? He didn't have Fanglong, so I won that gamble.
There you go.
But if he had a card that said, if loyalty said, search your deck for a Fanglong, I'd be like, well, then he's got 8 Fanglongs in the deck. Ain't shit I can do about that. So that's definitely a big thing. And the other one from Guz saying, play what you love. There is nothing truer than play what you love. I won that regionals with Xmon because at the time I was absolutely in love with that deck. And I played that deck for every regional from the time that deck came out. And it just had that one regional where I hit all the right matchups and all the right situations with over all the stars aligned, and I won. And at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. Like, I could win with I see some of the matchups that people have, and I'm like, yeah, I could win a regional with Fenry if I had those matchups. Unfortunately, I don't. I got paired up against, meta decks that are faster than me, that clap me faster than I clap them twice in all the times that I've played with a Fenry. But there were also, there's also the chance that I don't play against those decks. And there's chances that I end up against all the Setcons, which I would love. I obliterate Setcon all day, every day. I actually wish I played against more Setcon. That's now a fun matchup because I have ADP. So it's like, come on. I don't get it, unfortunately, and other players do. So it's just a game of RNG. Your matchups are RNG. And I think that's what a lot of people forget as well. It's like, I want to win more, but I just don't know what I'm doing. Sometimes it really is just, what are you playing and how bad are your matchups? Is it like a 50-50 matchup or is it a 40-60 matchup? Those variances matter a lot.
Yeah.
Moving on, we've got our poll results. I said, what deck would you recommend for a beginner in competitive play? I'd ask Adrian this question, but Adrian doesn't play competitively like that. So the question I will ask him is, Adrian, out of Red Hybrid, the Double Typhoon starter deck, Greymon Tribal, Shine Greymon, Imperial, and Numemon, which deck would you recommend to a beginner?
The starter deck, the Double Typhoon.
Why is that?
Why? Well, I mean, I'm looking at it as a accessibility standpoint. You can pick up 2 starter decks, throw them together, and you have a pretty decent deck. If not, you might have to pick up a couple pieces for some upgrades here and there, but that's more of for a beginner, you definitely want to look for accessibility to get you in the door. If you're going to build a deck 50 cards from scratch, it might take a little longer to build it. You have to buy certain cards or trade certain things, so, to answer that question, accessibility wise, it's Double Typhoon because it's a pretty easy deck to play and it's easy to build it. But as far as like skill level, I mean, I feel like there's so much Greymon support, like Agumon, Greymon going up the entire chain that's probably like the most abundance of cards that we have in the game. So it's probably not difficult to build a Greymon deck. So probably one of those two, I would say.
So the number 1 voted deck with 6 votes is Red Hybrid.
Yeah, that's wrong. I don't think that's right.
You don't think
easiest deck to play for a new player?
Yes.
I don't know.
Because it's Unga Bunga AF. You throw 4 Ukumon in the bitch, and you digivolve Ukumon and raise. You digivolve another thing. You play your Takuya. Next turn, swing, digivolve another champion. Swing again. Oh, I couldn't close out game. All right, cool. Emperor Grey. And it grows with the player.
When you put it like that.
It's red aggro, right? And the thing you see in every new game, doesn't matter what the card game is, you always see aggro decks are generally like the deck to go to while that game is fresh and new. Because they're easy to play, requires no thought, or generally requires no thought, and they just do what they do and they do it very well.
That's fair. Okay, you know what? That's fair. I'll agree with what you're saying. If it is easy to go Unga Bunga, but you still have search triggers that you need to resolve in Red Hybrid. The Flamemon search, so that becomes a part now of what piece do I add. A new player is not going to have that much experience with the deck, so they might not make the right choice.
No, but that's good, right? Because I mean, Greymon has the same thing, and it becomes a matter of how does this deck grow with the player.
True.
I mean, even the Double Typhoon starter deck that has that in the Double Typhoon card itself. Look at top 3, you add Tamer and a green card. I think, when Dan and I were talking about it on that pod, what Dan was trying to consider. Dan, what were you trying to consider when you recommended Greymon? I know it was something along the lines of
it was about that because Greymon deck gives you the ability to learn the basics of the game first off, in my opinion, because you have your standard build a stack and stuff. You also learn about what black box, understand what black box means in the card game now today.
Which
you
is
also get
very big.
And then you just have your generic everything else. Like, understand you have tamers to play, meet your option requirements. You have, like you said, searching, understand what to grab and not to grab. I didn't even think about that part last time when we talked about it. I also said Greymon is also a deck that is forever going to get support. So it's a good starting deck as well, because you know that you can invest in this deck and you know that it will always get support and you'll always be able to, use that deck and just adapt it to the times, and that's all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's definitely like the biggest thing why I say Red Hybrid. Like, you may not have the mechanics are a little bit different because Digivolving isn't as important. In Greymon, you're trying to get right inheritables in stack. You want to build a fairly well balanced Greymon stack. But in Red Hybrid, Digivolve swing. Emperor Gray swing kind of thing. But if we're talking about a beginner competitive player looking to pick up the game and achieve fairly immediate success without too much thinking involved, Red Hybrid. If they want to understand the game more, I definitely recommend both the starter deck and Greymon Tribal, which Greymon Tribal was second place with 5 votes, and Double Typhoon was third place with 4 votes. I'd also agree with Double Typhoon just because we are now seeing Double Typhoon as a deck top a lot more in tournaments, and they're literally 2 decks mashed together plus some cards. Mm-hmm. And this is going to get into a topic that, we could talk about later, but when you look at the breakdown of these decks, some play Dexmon, some play, the Quartzmon, and those are expensive cards. Dexmon's 60 base, and Quartzmon I think is like $15 for base art.
Yeah, almost $20. Yeah,
and even like Agility Training, which isn't as expensive now, but like these are cards that it's like, as a competitive player looking to get into the game, it's like, do I really want to spend this much on a deck? But Double Typhoon is literally spend $60 and then spend an extra $40 on singles, if so much, because you need to pick up 2 more BT8 Rapidmons or trade for them, even better than buying them.
Well, they come in the deck though.
Only one comes in the deck. So to get 4, you'd need to buy 4 starter decks, and I'm not going to sit here and tell somebody to buy 4 starter decks.
Oh, you mean BT8?
Yes,
BT8. Okay, yeah, my bad.
So you'd need to pick up 2 more, but just trade for them. Or if you can't, then just buy the singles for sure. And then some agility trainings. You might want the Mimi Tamers, but you can still just get away with playing the Henrys from the deck. Mm-hmm. Henry works very well, both of them, plus the Willis. I mean, that's what everybody's doing. Everybody plays 3 to 4 of the Willis, which is crazy because I haven't seen Willis played in bunny decks before this at all.
Leave him alone.
I'm just saying, like, everybody hated on Willis as a card, and now Willis is the 3-4 of card in these decks as the tamer.
Yeah.
But these decks they're basically, the topping lists are starter decks plus.
Yes.
It's whatever you want to put in the deck based on what research you do to find out. And there's nothing better for the game than when you can just pick up a starter deck and buy 2 of them at that. Slap them together based on what you're seeing from people's YouTube videos or wherever you're getting your information from. And then maybe you buy a couple more cards, you trade for a couple more cards, and then you go into a tournament and you're learning how to play that deck. I think that's it's such a good thing for the game. And, inevitably, when Greymon gets another starter deck, because it will get a starter deck again at some point. Man. Don't know when, but it will get another starter deck. It'll be the same thing, and it'll just be even better because now you have all these sets of Greymon support to look back and pull from. So that is that. Anyways, we are going to move on to our main topic, and I'm going to let Adrian take it away because, like I said, today's Adrian's day. This is Adrian's topic. Adrian.
Yeah.
What is it?
So I wanted to talk about, I guess I'll preface this by saying there's a lot of talk in the community about cards that are coming out, especially with reveals and everything, and the comparisons are made about certain cards being stronger, certain cards being better, blah, 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 blah. So I wanted to talk about power creep in the Digimon card game. Now, I have not been playing as long as you guys have, but there are definitely obvious instances where cards are just better now because they're newer. So, perfect example, everybody's favorite rookie, Agumon, right? If we're looking at BT5 Agumon and BT12 Agumon, right? They're both searchers, top X for whatever. So, where's the power creep coming from? I think the power creep in Digimon is specifically related to the inheritable, because it now gives that Digimon a secondary, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
Purpose?
A secondary purpose, thank you. A secondary purpose in the deck. So, that old BT5 Agumon, which I'm sure was played very heavily in its particular deck, was on play, search, and then that's it. If you Digivolve over it, there's nothing else there's no other benefit that you're getting. But now with the BT12, you're getting a search, but then you also get the addition of DP and the inheritable. So I think for me, or my opinion on it is, I think Digimon does a good job of power creep, because yes, the cards are stronger, but they serve multi-purposes. So I just kind of wanted to you guys expand on that and just kind of share your thoughts.
So we're heading into a set that to some is the definition of power creep incarnate. And I say that because we get a card. First three color Digimon in the game.
Oh, why you gotta bring my boy into this conversation?
First 3 color Digimon. Yellow, blue, and black of all colors. Mm-hmm. And it says, when it digivolves, if Magnamon X or a card with armor form is in its Digi-Evolution cards, this Digimon is unaffected by your opponent's effects and gets 3000 DP until the end of your opponent's turn. Then you unsuspend it. And then it has an all turns effect when a card is removed from a security stack. That means it works both offensively and defensively. Mm-hmm. You may activate one of this Digimon's when Digivolving effects, which means, depending on the deck that this card is played in, this card is doing that every turn. And it's just a wall. It's a big, bad wall that you arguably cannot get over, so to say. And right now, I think the topic of power creep really centers around the discussion of, we've talked about it in the past. I know Dan remembers it. Protection mechanics. We talked about how busted protection mechanics could be. At the time, Dan, what was the problem card at the time? Do you remember? Was it Machinedramon?
It was just Machinedramon and Greymon protection.
Okay. Right. So at the time, the only real decks with good protection were Greymon decks and Machinedramon decks. Greymon was, X antibody, and Machinedramon's Machinedramon. They've got unending protection, depending on how it's sequenced, because against Leviamon as a singular Digimon, you can't protect against that. But if it can protect against most other forms of deletion, and then you get decks like D-Brigade with the Commandramon, the High Commandramon, that gives almost all forms of protection except for DP reduction, which is a game mechanic, which then leads us into another topic of how busted DP reduction as a mechanic is, because there's just not cards that protect against this. We've talked about it many times in the past where things are busted because there aren't counterplays to it. BT7 hybrids were disgusting. And if you weren't playing a hybrid deck, the only other thing you were in BT7, Dan, was there anything else they were playing? I guess Jesmon?
It was Jesmon, Boff.
Yeah, Boff still.
Hybrid, basically.
And hybrids, because there was no tamer. Bond of Friendship. Gabumon Bond of Friendship.
Oh, okay.
And there was no counterplay. There was. There was counterplay. We had a level 7 Zwart defeat to pop tamers. And we had a secret rare level 5 that costs 13 to play, but reduces cost for every 10 cards you have in trash, Chaos Mode, to also pop a tamer.
Oh, Lucamon?
Yes, Lucamon Chaos Mode.
Okay.
But that's not doing much of anything. These decks are so fast because, they're hybrids. They're just digivolving on top of these tamers that we can't interact with. And they're taking swings we can't game plan, especially for what some of these hybrids do. Like Bokomon at the time was an absolute menace because some decks abused it, and then you had Red Hybrid who could take it out. It's funny too because Red Hybrid wasn't even good for its time. Red Hybrid only has become good recently.
That was a different deck at that time frame. That was the Ancient Gray.
It was
more.
No, BT7 Red Hybrid. I'm just saying they had that Burning Gray that they could pop Pokemons and stuff. They do the same thing that they're doing now. They're just doing it better now because you got the second Takuya named inheritable tamer, a busted ass Emperor Greymon, and even before we had gotten to Ukomon, they were still just a good deck doing good things. So I think like the discussion of power creep, I mean, the game is very well balanced in the memory gauge. I think the memory gauge is what ties it all together. Without the memory gauge, what is the game doing? Yeah, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! Exactly. Yeah, and that's why decks that abuse the memory gauge, I've said it in the past, decks that abuse the memory gauge are what can make the game unfun. Apocalypse not only abuse the memory gauge because it reduces play cost by 4 for each Dark Master you tuck in source, but then it's also adding in an uninteractable game mechanic and milling you out, which you don't have a counterplay to. We see there are some cards that play against that in ET17, I think, or they play with the strat or something like that. I can't remember exactly what they do, but generally speaking, it's power creep is I remember the name of that podcast too. Power creep isn't bad. that was the podcast that we had. We talked about this. I think Digimon handles it mostly well. I just always question game designers when they make certain choices in designing certain cards, because it really is like, what were you thinking? I would love to know how you conceptually thought this was an okay card to design.
Can you elaborate on that? Give me an example.
Go ahead, Dan.
I just wanted to go back to, let's go back real quick to Agumon, to the example he used with the Agumon searchers. That's not power creep on that one, I don't think. In my opinion, because BT5, so they search different things. That's the difference. BT5 Agumon searches Greymon and Omnimon. You can grab both, not just or. You had also the BT8 Agumon that lets you grab any Greymon and a Dragon King searching for, right? Then you have the BT12. The BT12 makes it better because it has an inheritable, but its search is Greymon or Omnimon and Tamer. So they have a little different, there's a little bit difference. It's not like a direct correlation power creep in my opinion, because there was a point in time where I was like playing like 4 of that and still 2 of the BT5 searcher, just because of adding that search and just hit, if you hit them both, that's great. And you don't you don't lose. Let's say if it's a Greymon, Omnimon, something else, you don't lose the Omni, you still gain the Omni plus something else. That was the little quirk about that card. I think the perfect example of power creep when we're speaking of like cards in general is the original promo Agumon and BT14 Agumon. That's the perfect power creep because they both do the same exact inheritable, but now BT14 does way more. Right? It's plus 2k on your stack, right? That was the inheritable of the old promo Agumon.
It was plus 2k on a Greymon stack.
Correct. And now you have the BT14, that's all it was. It was a heritable plus 2k, call a day, that's it, right? For a Greymon, your turn. BT14, what that does is heritable is still plus 2k, but now you have the great main effect of you can digivolve into a Greymon for free. You see what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's the perfect correlation of power creep, is taking that card. Because now with that promo card, unless you want to have like a deck of rookies that has a crap ton of either 1 Agumons and 2 you want a whole bunch of like DP boosting, you don't need that card anymore. Like, people, that used to be a $20-$30 card back in the day. Right. That's probably dirt cheap now. I don't know. I haven't looked at it in like forever. But that card is irrelevant now. You know what I'm saying? I think that's like the perfect example of like quote unquote power creep.
So the other big thing is it's not just Greymon, it's Greymon or Omnimon.
Correct. Which immediately
makes it better because you were already playing Omnimons.
Exactly.
And you didn't get that DP buff previously. Here's a card that gives you your DP buff and has that start of main phase effect.
And like I said, I think they do, like, back to in general now, the game, instead of like specific examples, the game does a pretty good job in power creep because some of the older cards are still very playable. Like, I know, like, a lot in of general, them are. I know in general, like, it's like, you know, people buy RB1 and like 90% of it is not used. But when you like go down to nitty gritty of certain decks, there's a lot of decks that still rely on older cards. Like there's never going to be a power creep for Jack Raid. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a card that I don't think that will ever.
A new Jack Raid?
You can't, right? Like it's just that generically good. You can't power creep unless it says Sec Attack +2 of the starter deck Greymon, right? Like the moment like something says now champion says like as inheritable Sec Attack +2 generically, that's the only way you really power creep it. You know what I'm saying? Again, there's a lot like instances of like cards in general you get power creep because there was a lot of bad cards back in the day. Let's like be real, like the first 3 sets, half of them were like quite irrelevant because it's vanillas, it's stuff that are irrelevant. Like Kakatorumon never saw play, right? It was a 3-cost drop champion. Like when you think about 3-cost now, today's game, 3-cost champion, oh, that's not bad. But what else does it do? You know what I'm saying? Or it was 4-cost, I don't remember. And might have had jamming. I know one of those had jamming. Whatever. Anyways, it's hard.
I think another like perfect example of power creep is looking at Ragna Lord from EX6 because
yes, 100%.
BT3 Bry Ludramon is just a blocker inheritable, and then we got the starter deck, and the starter deck says opponent's turn as an inheritable again. While it's Ragna Lord, it isn't affected by the effects of your opponent's Digimon. And then they're like, all right, it's still not good. How do we make it good? And so now here's this new Briar Ludramon that says inherited, blocker, and opponent's turn. While the Digimon is Ragna Lord, it can't leave the battle area other than by your effects or deletion. So it took the blocker inheritable from BT3. It took the semi, like the unaffected effect of starter deck and put it together, and that also made that protection effect better. So that it's like, well, like, I don't even need to play those old two because I'll just play this new one. Because
that's, to me, that's like real, like legitimate, like direct correlation of power creep. Because now those cards, you don't need them at all. I just like, I think they power creep cards in decks that need it, I feel like. Because like, if you look at like Greymon.decks, right? EXO1 Greymon is still a viable card that you could play. Starter deck Greymon, still a viable deck card. Don't you looked at it, but like EXO1, a lot of decks still play EXO1 Greymon because of the inheritable of being able to play a tamer when you attack. A lot of people prefer that over BT12 Greymon because of the play.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking about Metal Gray for some reason. Go ahead.
No. That card's a Machinedramon card, really. Like no Greymon.
That's why I was like, we're talking about the Machinedramon Metal Gray, right? No, we're talking about
regular Gray. I would have said Metal Gray. But like right, even like if you really look at like there was a split moment like in like BT, I think 11 or 12, where I played a one of like the BT1 Greymon because his inheritable was +2k generic. You know what I'm saying? Which is not bad when you look at it, because not many of them do that, right? You have a lot of them that's +1k on your turn, then you have like +1k on all turns, stuff like that. They power creep in different ways sometimes, I feel like, in like a multitude of effects. Like you just said, they combine effects. Like now you have like the Secret War Greymon that has Sec +1 that can warp, that can I think it reboot, piercing, like it, like they do everything. But it's not like Raid War Greymon is still arguably the best War Greymon. But you still have the ADP War Greymon that like people are playing that again now. People are playing that again now because of Secon, right, and other stuff. So that card will never be, in my opinion, get power card because you get on Digivolve Sec +1, and then you're also ADP inherently, and then you just have whatever else you have in that stack, right?
I think another way to talk about power creep is, and Adrian wouldn't know this because he didn't play the game at this time, but looking at the transition from basically like BT5 meta into, I would say, like BT8 meta. And I know that's a few sets apart, but the reason I say that is because Lord Knight at the time was a deck that didn't give two flying shits about its inheritables.
No.
That was just, oh, speed. I'm going to build up any stack as fast as I can, get into Lord Knight, because Lord Knight's just going to start spinning me out bodies. Have
beautiful effects. Like
exactly. So they opted for, even though there were decent yellow inheritables at the time, they opted for none of them. They played S03E27, which was a 1-cost Digivolve champion. And they played Nightmon because they had to. Generally, they'd also play Angewomon because they had ways, like with Blinding Ray, to get down to 3 security for the Angewomon effect.
Get multiple effects of dropping bodies.
Exactly. But like that was, they didn't care about inheritables at that time. All of the rookies, Starmons, Kotemon for search. They had, what the hell else did they play, Dan? Pulsemon, right? That had no inheritable. That just had an on play. And they would just build a stack, whatever it took to get that stack out ASAP.
Yeah.
And now we've gotten to a point, like you said, Adrian, where, yeah, inheritables are a lot more important. Now we're like, well, damn, I have, this floodgate in hand, and I don't want to build this stack on a floodgate because it's the only vanilla rookie I run without an inheritable, but I don't have a choice because it's the only rookie I have in hand, and you end up having to build a stack on it. But that doesn't help your game plan because, like, for me with Lugamon, I played 2 things with inheritables. One gains me memory on play of a Digimon, the other one gains me memory at the end of the attack, and I'd much rather see that than something with no inheritable. So another thing is, just looking at how the game is transitioned.
The important, not important, but like another way they power crept certain things was those older like vanilla cards that were like six drop, 1-cost evos. Later on, they became the same exact thing, except now they're blockers, and that's how they like advanced blockers being like 1-cost evos instead. A lot of them, if you remember that time transition, and then what else? That was the only one I was thinking of at the moment. But yeah.
We went from Vilemon. I mean, Vilemon was like the de facto purple blocker, along with a slew of other 2-cost 6K blockers. And then all those new starter decks that came out, and we got 1-cost 5K blockers, which mattered for certain DP thresholds.
Yep.
But it was like, cool, I don't hate playing a blocker now. Like, again, what's it called? Lord Nightmon. They played Pitomon, which was a 1-cost to Digivolve blocker instead of Unimon. Unless you felt like you needed more blockers, in which you'd run 4 Pitomon and 2 Unimon so that you have blockers. Then that's another thing. I don't know how to put it, but like blockers on main body effects as level 4s were a big thing up until, I guess, Boff came around and started bottom decking everything away. And then it didn't matter if you had blockers because they were just going to get bottom decked. And now we have blockers as inheritables, or blockers on bigger bodies than just level 4s. Like Fenry can make himself a blocker with an inheritable. You've got, obviously there's Machine Dramon, but that's kind of like its own thing. You've got the actual, like, Fenry can, I use Fenry a lot because it's just what I know right now. Fenry also has a Fascomon Dark Animal that it can play. That's a blocker from the Beelzemon started at.
Yeah, blocker became dead, and I think the way they made blocker be relevant to today's game is either having them as inheritables for your bigger stacks, or have like an effect to give blocker for a turn, because sometimes that's what you really need it for, right? You know, because sometimes you just evo over that blocker, you play it so you can scare them or do the job, and then you're just doing it, and then you're evoing. But now you lose blocker. But like a lot of like Numemon has a lot of inheritables where they're just blockers.
They give blocker,
They give blockers on like the Mazimons, or even if you have like a Numa plus Numa X or something. Like that way as well. And then you also have inheritable for Sec +1. So that gives another way of being able to be aggro and also defensive at the same time if needed, or whenever it's needed. I think that was the way they did with blockers. And I think that's the best trend, because really certain decks only if you're playing certain decks, you're playing a champion blocker that's on body blocker, but like most decks can just out it, and most decks aren't even playing them because you need so much other stuff to facilitate your plays that you're not even worried about that blocker, because you're trying to win fast enough, or you set up the big body for it to be the blocker, like Greymon, right? You stop playing Greymon blockers in Greymon because one, you had an inheritable and the Black Greymon, but that got taken out because you have a tamer now that gives blocker to as an effect, and you don't have to worry about it. And so you just climb up the stack and you have all your other effects, and then boom, blocker in that type of way.
Yeah, but I mean, like what you're saying though, like that's kind of what I was trying to get at. Like that is essentially in and of itself a form of power creep, because now
that way
like
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like they're power creeping older cards out to where they're obsolete and they're not used anymore because so many cards now do so many different things. So like you said, like the tamer gives blocker, but isn't he also a memory tamer at the same time?
No, you can
you gain a memory
make a blocker
on Digivolve.
plus 1K and you gain a memory on Digivolve.
So you get so you're gaining memory and you're a blocker and you're gaining DP on one card. So that's not going to take out your other tamers though, but it will affect your blocker situation though. Right. That's what I'm saying. Like it's as a whole, it's affecting the. And I'm not saying power creep is a bad thing. I think power creep needs to exist in order for product to be sold. I totally get the whole point of it. Cards need to get better because we need to continue to play. I think Digimon does a really good job because yes, they power creep older cards that need it, but there's also a lot of older cards that are relevant. I mean, we all know I'm a huge Vmon fan, and jamming Vmon is still probably one of the best Vmons in the game, and that's a BT2 card or BT3 card.
Yeah,
one or the other.
BT3,
so I mean that's really never been power crept out because there's no Vmon that's been printed that's just one for one replaced that card. So I think there's pros and cons to it. I was just kind of trying to get more of like what your thoughts are like, or do you think that sometimes they go a little bit too far with the power creep, which can lead to broken cards like Magna X, or do you think that they're right where they need to be?
Magna X, when we get a Magna X, so now we're back to the point that Varney was about to make before I derailed it. I think Magna X power creeps the old Magna X.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's definitely better. Right. It's definitely better old Magna X, which was sorely needed.
Magna X did things but didn't do things, if you get what I'm saying. You played Armor Rush, I played Armor Rush, so you kind of understand what I'm saying. You had like the infinite, basically the infinite block or whatever, like redirect, right? And then you just go back to security and Armor Purge, whatever it had, right? But it didn't do anything else besides that.
Right.
This Magna X, it's a little bit different. You have that crazy protection. You're doing other things. I think you could gain DP, if I remember. I don't remember the
Digivolve. Right? When you Digivolve, you gain 3k DP as long as I think there's an armor forming trait or something like that.
Something like that. I don't remember.
Yes.
The power creep to me in that card is more of like it being a 3-color card, and then you can do other things with it because now that's the first 3-color card, and that gets kind of crazy with Heaven's Judgments and cards like that. But that's a direct correlation that needed to be power crept in my opinion.
Yes,
to make that
I'd agree
relevant.
with that.
I think the power creep on Magna X is just giving it the free trait. I think the problem with the original Magna X is that it's not a free, it's a vaccine.
Yeah, so it wasn't searchable, which was a fucking issue.
Right, it's a huge issue because it completely derails that.
Oh, no, we did. Never mind. Yep, you're right.
No, yeah. So,
because I was thinking about the Vmon searchers that grab Imperial, not like Magna stuff. Yeah,
they grab free
because they grab free.
There was no. Yeah, exactly. There was no searchers that grab armors, right? Period.
Well, there's the BT8 Vmon that grabs dual color blue cards.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
But that doesn't grab a tricolor.
Wait, I was about to say that doesn't grab tri because that's so dumb.
It specifies 2-color. Yep.
Right, it doesn't.
Which
grab
is why
tricolor.
it is important that it has the free trait, because then you just have the same issue as the old one, and you rely on raw draw power.
Mm-hmm.
And who's to say how good this deck would have been if you couldn't search this card out?
Yeah,
because the old one was good, but yeah, it's not searchable. And you're just relying on raw draw power. Now we have the mental trainings to offset it, as well as did we have memory boost? Yeah, we had. When did we get memory boost?
Yeah, we had memory boost.
We had.
When did we get them though? Was that like BT8?
No,
BT7?
Well, they were in the starter decks.
It was the starter decks. It was Gallon and Ulforce starter decks.
Ulforce.
Okay, so that I want to say it was BT7.
Yeah, that's BT6, 7
or BT6 because Jasmine was playing the Galma. It was BT6 because they were also playing Red Memory Boost. Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, so yeah, I mean you had the memory boost to search it out, but the one card in your deck at the time that Magna X came out, no card sorry, the BT8 VMon could search it. But yeah, you didn't have free. I don't even think we had free searchers back then. Because I'm thinking about it. I think that was
not yet. That was the starter deck.
BT12.
BT11 or BT12 that VMon came out in.
So yeah, I mean, at the time you search it out, but then you also like had other things, and Magna X wasn't its own deck. Now we have more Magnamons, which is why the deck is even good to begin with, because you got 12 Magnamons to play the deck with compared to the 4 that you had during that armor period. You had like the Rydramon and Flame Dramon that you could play, but they required you to play like a different style of deck from like what it is currently. As far as cards,
the problem is when it comes to the power creep, they power creep decks out of existence, right? Like the perfect example of Lord Nightmon, right? That was the most dominant deck in that format, best deck in the format, whatever, right? And then kind of like BT6 came around, it was still around, but like it wasn't as strong. And then BT7 happened, and then it was like, this deck is ass, right? I think the issue with the way Bandai handles decks is that they don't sometimes make those older decks relevant again. Lord Nightmon hasn't had support in God knows how long. You get these random Nightmons here and there, but it's not enough to make the deck relevant again, right? You had the promo Nightmon that like it was cool. It's a cool card. It's not bad, but because there's no
Digivolve,
there's no actual support for Lord Nightmon or a new Lord Nightmon for it to be relevant again. I think that's also an issue sometimes where they just kind of forget about decks. Grandis, like I understand hitting Grandis, but why don't we get like a new Grand Coagum now that makes it be a playable deck again? The Ace one is kind of good, but I don't know if that will make like Grand Coagumon deck be playable, because you have Tyrant now coming out as well. So I don't know about like that situation, but like there's some older decks that's like, damn, this could have used some support and be relevant with power creep legitimate, like Dragon Licks, right? That deck got support one time and only. And it's cool and stuff, but it needed a legitimate power creep set to make the deck relevant again. And same thing with Ragnar. Like it took forever for Ragnar to get it, and we got the Ragnar support, and it's still, I don't know. You have
it's a better deck. It's a better deck now, for sure.
Because now I keep thinking about Don Devi, right? Don Devi got support that one time, and you get sprinkled in these like random. You sprinkle in these random Devimon cards. I was like, they're solid. They're not bad. Example, right? BT14 Devimon. It's a good card when you really think about what it does. But just because there's no like new Don Devi, there's no like things that support the archetype as a whole, you're just looking at it like, damn, this is still ass. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that's where like power creep can be good, because some of those old decks need it.
Right.
Now, Adrian asked for examples of cards that I'm like, why the fuck did you think this was okay to play?
Yes.
Case in point, starter deck Impmon. What does
Which
Beelzemon?
one? The warp one?
The warp one, but the warp isn't the issue. It's the inheritable. So what's Beelzemon? Dan, what's your biggest issue with Beelzemon?
It does not care what your opponent does. You just do your milling.
Well,
and call it
yes, but like it's mechanic of the memory gain between, you know, the Beelzemon, the Death Slingers. Yeah,
That's
like Death Slingers, Dan's biggest issue. Wizardmon. It's the memory gain that they get off the Luxac mills, right? So you're like, okay, well, how do I play against Beelzemon? Like back during BT12, you're like, how do I play against Beelzemon? Okay, well, I could play memory blocking floodgates. That's fine, right? No.
That's the Impmon that pops. That's what you're getting at, right? Yeah.
When a card is trashed from your deck, which is what the deck does inherently, delete one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon, i.e. their memory blocker. Yeah, sure, it's once per turn, but how many decks are running, 3+ of those memory blockers to say that, all right, cool, I'm just going to drop 2 end turn, you can't do your turn. And even then, they've still got Death Slinger. Like, it's not like it's that big an issue. They've got Beelzemon Blast Mode that when milled from the deck would also pop a level 3 or lower, but then it also increases level based on how much things you have in trash. Like, it's not like an egregious example, but it's still a card that's like, how, like, what's the level of playtesting that the developers put into the decks to say these are okay cards to print? Or do you make that decision having that in mind? And is that how we end up with? I guarantee if that didn't have that inheritable, I don't think the EX2 Entmon would have been banned. Because the deck would have still milled a hell of a lot. The deck still would have milled a hell of a lot, but you're not easily, you can't easily get rid of those floodgates. Now you need more Iron Makos on field to gain the memory, because at the time, sure, they were playing the Iron Makos, but because it only prevents by Tamer effects and not by Digimon effects, you lose out on all of those milled cards memory gain. You remember, Dan, Beelzemon going from, well, 1 memory, and oh, cool, you were at 2, but I just gained 2 memory off of Death Singers. Now I'm back to 0. Now I got a Beelzemon. Now I get to gain 2 memory for all these cards in my trash, and like all that shenanigans and the yada yada. Being able to delete floodgates that could stand in his deck's ways, like seriously, that was okay to print. Another example, I mean, I haven't played against Magna X, so I can't say.
Yeah, I haven't done that either yet.
Bro,
I know it's an insane card, but I can't say if that's a card that they're like, why would you print this type?
So let me stop you right there, right? So Magna X is an insane card on its own, yes. However, I think the problems that people are talking about is the other cards around it, like Blinding Rays, the big one, right? Like, okay, so basically, like, how do you get around Magna X? Well, you set up a blocker. Because if you set up a blocker and the blocker eats that attack, he's not checking security. He doesn't get to unsuspend. Okay, well, I'm just going to play this free option to take my own security, which I'm going to probably be at 5 or 4 anyway, because that deck doesn't lose security very easily, and then unsuspend and do my whole shenanigans. So I think it's, yes, in a vacuum, Magna X is a very strong card, but it's the cards around it. The other example is Heaven's Judgment. It's 3 colors on its own, so what is that, 24k that you're reducing from the board? So not only can you kill 2 tall stacks, but you can just essentially wipe the entire board. Yeah, it's 7 memory, but there's a lot of overflow in the game right now where that 7 memory might not cost you 7, it'll maybe cost you 4. So
but on Heaven's Judgment part, that's a card that I'm okay with the design at the moment that the card came out, because that was... according to the knowledge that we know, there was some change in either game producer. There was a change in game producer at some point during the development of, like, I want to say BT12 EX4 to BT14. And so that's like one big thing to consider. But, we're also talking about ace cards that came out, that might have been something that was an afterthought, but even that doesn't matter. Heaven's Judgment was a card that came out for the Bunny and Dog deck, because it was to take advantage of them being 2 color cards, and generally those cards were yellow, green, purple, some mixture of that. Correct. So you could get neg 24, but that was also requiring you to have multiple
2 or 3 bodies.
A lot of things going on. Yep.
If you have all those bodies on field, I think that's a perfectly fine payoff for that card.
Right. Magna X was for 1.
Compared to the one singular card. That is tricolor, but that's not a problem. That's just an issue with now introducing tricolors into the game that now says that this card can be absolutely and utterly abused. And maybe, perhaps, we should think about banning this card. Or not banning,
I can see that.
Well,
restricting.
Banning this card.
To 1.
Restrict that card. No, ban that card. I would hate to get fucked by a luck sack one of. Just like you hate that one of HPD if Heaven's Judgment got restricted to 1 and my opponent was like, I put this board out because I'm like, yeah, they might not be able to take care of it. They're like, I'll play Heaven's Judgment for 7.
He's our one of, bitch. Sure. Eat it.
Neg 24, neg 30k. Scoop. I'd be so tired. Another card.
Security.
No, security is fine. Security is fine because it's just a neg 12.
Neg 12, neg 12.
Yes. But another card, which, this one's weird. The Ukomons. Because on paper, these cards are fine. But sometimes you get into these matches or you watch games and you're just like, wow, that card's doing a lot.
Ukomon is disgusting.
You get to BT16 where you get a second Ukomon.
Word.
And I was previously on the train of no Ukomons need to be hit. That card's perfectly fine. What it does for the decks that it's in, not an issue. And then I see like somebody does this Ukomon shenanigans to me and I'm not even in BT16 yet. And I'm like, And then I look at what BT16 does, right? And I'm like, all right, well, it costs 1 to Digivolve. Surely that's not too bad, right? Like, you're going to pass 1 to your opponent. Well, you're passing 1 to your opponent. Okay, that's just a plus, right? No, when this card comes out, it looks at top 3, takes any color Digimon or Tamer for you, bottom decks the rest, and then it hatches you a new egg. So go ahead, set up that second stack. And it's like, wow, that does do a lot. And it's just like how, like, for me, it's not so much of like, you know, you design this card, you look at it, is this card busted? It's really more of a like, who's testing this card? Obviously, there's no group of players testing any cards at all. It's all internal because it's a Japanese company. We had this talk in Discord earlier today about the difference between like Japanese company in general, business philosophy, and almost any other nationality company. Japanese companies tend to be very, very stuck in their ways. They don't do anything different. They do what they know. They might look to innovate, but they might not be looking to innovate in a way that the players want. Do they listen to their player base? Dan, I have a question for you as a Yu-Gi-Oh player. Does Konami have
the worst?
Well, I know, but does Konami have like an English specific like division for Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah.
Or is that managed by...
No, they do.
I didn't know that.
Okay, so when was that created? Was that created like fairly recently?
I don't have an answer for you for that one. I just know they do.
All right.
But but the thing is, like, all cards, so they have an English division, but like their cards, like when they're designing cards, are still JP like first, like OCG first.
Right.
And we know for a fact, because the card pool is so big, they don't test older cards. And we have random interactions, like, for example, at one point, again, this is like my time where I played consistently IRL, where there was a huge combo with Smoke Grenade. What's it called? Smoke Grenade Thief or something like that. The card was from like the first 2 sets of Yu-Gi-Oh! And it ended up like breaking random, like it was a random combo that ended up breaking shenanigans. And it's like, why didn't they test anything? Do you really expect them to really test a card like that from old, that's from 2001, 2002, compared to 2017, whatever that was at that time frame? And, you know, they banned it eventually. But like, that is a little bit different than I feel like Digimon, because Digimon's still new. I could understand if we were like, you know, at that like 10,000 mark of cards or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you should be able to play test and figure things out. Like, a Pokemon was such a, like, I don't know if they missed the ball on what they thought it could do, or they knew what it did and was like full send anyways, because like they try to follow, as we all know, they try to follow the lore of the game, a lore of the story, lore of the, you know, the Digimon in general. So like, it makes sense on paper why Pokemon does what Pokemon does. But the problem is when you put it in practice and you're like, oh wait, I could just put Cranium underneath this that also has on play and makes
that's
him, you know,
recent card.
Can't be killed by Digimon effects, right? Unaffected by Digimon effects. You have old school Magadramon, Recover 2. You have the newer Magadramon to be able to give everything second attack -1 blanket effect. You have all these interactions that's kind of crazy. On top of the mill. So now you, all right, cool, that thing can't die. Oh wait, I'll just throw, after that, Belfmon Sleep Mode effect, pull Rage Mode underneath as well. Now you're milling another 16 immediately with that. Or like, if you're going super janky with the Raidamon, right? Like, you put Raidamon underneath, you get the other 3 underneath that as well. Obviously that's a super like hard niche ass version. That's a super jank version, but like, stuff like that, just random interactions that, like, I don't know if it seemed like they didn't test it, but our card pool is not that big yet for them to not know that it wouldn't have happened like that. It's same thing with the Anubismon card. It's same thing with the Gurumon X cards. Like, it looks like they test the cards in that set.
That's
and
what
they're
they
like,
do.
This is fine.
Yeah,
watch
that's
it.
exactly what
but
they
if you know, but like, the thing is, like, for a Pokemon, let's go back to Pokemon, right? Why would you make it that generic? Like you knew you cooking up something. You knew you was like, yo, this is a secret. We gotta make them busted. But like it's like to the point where it's like you weren't this. You could tell this design was flawed. You know.
Dan, thank you. That card, Anubismon, that is probably the biggest card that I'm a card game player. I don't read. So like when I looked at Anubismon originally, I didn't even think it was that busted. And I picked up that card for the first time to play, and I played it, and I was like, oh shit.
In my opinion, that card, like if you look at each card without like looking at like combos or anything, when you look at that card right there, it's the most perfect purple card, and it's like this greatest purple card in all of purple, in my opinion.
Yes.
Because one, you are trashing cards in your hand, you are killing something on board, you're getting anything out of play at a reduced cost from trash.
Yep,
and
from
you
trash.
you can potentially draw if you don't pop. It's like the most, and it's like it's not just one digital element, it's a main effect, so you can do it again.
Yep.
It's the greatest purple card just by itself.
It ends up in trash. It's a shaman. It's got the support behind it because you've got Labramon from the same set to pull it back. Like that card, it's just like, and this is why I'm like, who's testing this game? Because I can understand game developers, they might not think. This is why I love looking at some of the new Kickstarter games that come out, because the game developers that do these Kickstarter games, some of them at least, they're very involved, obviously in the making of the game, but also just what their game is about. They're involved in what our community is doing and what events are being run and what players are asking, and they want strategies in this, that, and the other. So it's like, oh, if Anubismon was a card in one of these Kickstarter games that had come up, they'd be like, well, okay, we didn't think of that, but because of like everything that we're seeing in the community, something instantly is done. And that's the point I was asking about Konami with an English division. I know Konami is not the fastest to move when it comes to like ban lists and stuff.
Fastest.
But neither is Bandai.
The EN, like TCG, they will emergency ban something real quick.
Yeah,
really?
Done.
Okay.
Yeah, Konami's problem was not. Konami's problem was not really. I don't know. Konami's problem is that they just don't interact with their community. That was the problem with Konami.
That's a Japanese.
They do now, though.
Well, that's sure. They might.
That's a Japanese company thing, because it's not just that. It's Bushiroad as well. Bushiroad has like a lot of those issues. Bushiroad has Card Fight Vanguard suffers from a fucking delirious promo problem. There is a deck right now for all you Card Fight players. Y'all already know which deck I'm talking about. Well, you got two decks actually, Youthberg and Eva. Eva at one time, promos for that deck to even get to play it was like $200 for one. You need, I think, playsets in that game are 3, or maybe it's 4. It's 4. I can't remember.
Wait, did you just talk
Youthberg,
about? You just mentioned an expensive card in a different card game?
That's a different topic for another day.
Oh, okay.
That's a different topic for another day.
Damn, I'm gonna write some stuff down.
Youthbrick is a prime example of that right now. And it's like, what are you, the company that makes this card game, doing to fix this for us, the players? We're voicing it to you and you're doing nothing. And Bandai is going through that same thing right now, not with the expensiveness of cards, but we want more IRL events. We want, we just want more events, period. We want higher caps. Latin America wants more events and higher caps because they play the game a lot. And who the fuck is listening? Bandai JP? But obviously Bandai JP doesn't give two shits. Like something isn't happening over there. And maybe if there was an English side of the game, like, sure, we have an English game card producer. But what we really need is, this was said in one of our group chats with the boys from Connecticut, a dedicated social media social media manager and outreach person, somebody who is speaking with the community, listening to the community, relaying this stuff back to Bandai, but also just in general, some people who are watching our meta over here, us play the game, all of us who play the English version of the game, and handling us as we need to be handled, because obviously it just feels like it's too big for Bandai JP on their own to be doing. I don't know how Konami does it, but at the bare minimum, Konami's got events. They've got a ton of events. Dan said they listen to the player base.
Yeah, but they also have a 20+ year history.
Yes, they have a 20+ year history. But we're also talking about Bandai Namco, who has obviously Bandai card games. Bandai card games are a separate division. They have their own money to make, yada yada yada, whatnot and so forth. But when you have 1,000 people show up to your LA Nationals for Digimon, that yes, I know they were free, and we're going back to invites this year. But there, you see, the game sells. It constantly sells. It's not like it's not a moneymaker. It just feels like there's more that needs to be done. And where is it? Like,
sure. For
how,
sure.
where, why?
I think Bandai's focus was to expand its portfolio this last year because they added 3 new card games to their roster. And they rebooted one of their other ones, which I don't even want to talk about. But I sometimes, and it's like a double-edged sword. Like, it's good to for Bandai, as big a company as it is, it's nice to have that backing. But Bandai is too big of a company to where,
yes,
if the TCG space for Bandai didn't do well, like, it's negligible to them. It's just a write-off.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if Konami is a decent sized company, but Yu-Gi-Oh is Konami's bread and butter. Like, that is their baby. So, like, that's their thing. Digimon could die tomorrow. Hopefully it doesn't. Digimon could die tomorrow, and Bandai is not even going to blink an eye. Like, they're just going to keep on moving and just make another card game to replace.
You know how you know that's true as well? Because what the fuck do they do with the rest of the franchise?
Well,
look at all the video games that we wish we could get. So, Dan, how long did Survive take to come out?
Way too long. Let's play that. I think it was like the first announcement to the point it got released was about anywhere between like 5 to 8 years or something like that. It was something like stupid long.
Yeah, we weren't even supposed to get it here. Because we weren't even supposed to get the Cyber Sleuth games either in over here. Like, that was just
Cyber Sleuth. I don't remember,
because those were original Japanese games, and then I guess the community just clamored so much for it that they finally gave us a port. But
it wasn't honestly, I don't remember at this point.
Yeah, it wasn't like an official release. It's just a ported over game from Japan that we got. So,
and it's a damn shame because
those games are great. But
this is not a Bandai hate podcast.
Yeah,
we love you, Bandai.
Back to Power
as much as. But I'm just like, so the topic about it is like, it just feels like they need more communication with their player base. I don't even know what Konami does in terms of testing new cards, and that's neither here nor there. Like, that's whatever Konami does. But when you're Bandai and you've got people who would literally, you know what, Asura, this is the last thing I'll say. Asura Kage, he made the comment in our Discord, and he was like, Konami is like, we don't need to get we don't need to pay commentators for our game because people will just volunteer to do it for like pennies or for nothing. No, not even for pennies, for nothing at all. Like, they'll just do it. And it sucks to hear that because it's like, I mean, it's taking advantage. But at the same time, would we do that for Digimon? We love the game. So yes, I'm sure there is a very good amount of people who are willing to do free stuff for the card game. Whether it's commentation, I don't even know if commentators get paid. Like,
I think they get their flight. I think they get their flight.
No, for Digimon, I mean.
Yeah, I think they get their flight. I think that's
they fly out there, because I know for Worlds,
some are online, like the online stuff.
For Worlds,
that I don't know.
Ying and for One Piece Worlds, it was Ying and Doa that was commentating. They were commentating over here for the English stream because they were at home doing it.
That was same with Digimon. I don't know why you forgot about that, but same with Digimon.
Because Ying and Doa were the first one to pop into my mind. And One Piece is the bigger card game. So,
but you know what? Sure. You know what? Now that you mention it, I think that's all on the TO. I think the TO is the one that puts that together.
Bandai's TO for Japan.
But I mean, like, for us here, like for Nats for us or whatever. Here. I think like, the TO comes up with that.
That gets us into the Bandai TO topic, which we won't get into. It's just like more communication. Like, there's no reason that some of these cards should be designed in the way that they are. Anubismon?
Sure.
card read insane on paper, and it reads insane all the time.
Yeah. Let me add one more point to the power creep. I think one of the other things they do for power creep, at least, is they power creep styles of decks. Like, what I mean by that, right? Remember old school Old Force versus new school Old Force?
Yes.
There is a power creep of style of play of how you play the deck. Shine Greymon was another example of a deck that was power crept the way the style of the deck. It was an older, a little bit slower, more control based, to a point where now it was about Marcus Rush and you're swinging, trying to like kill things as fast as possible. Another example, Imperial, because that has gone through so many iterations.
It's gone through
of a style of
2
decks.
now.
3 now, really, right? But you had the first old school with the jamming, Pyuja, swing, Imperial, whatever. Then you had the DNA. Then now the DNA aggro, I should say, because it was more aggro. You swing XV, play Sting, DNA, swing Pyuja, unsuspend, swing Pyuja, go into Imperial, spit out 2 bodies. I know that combo I know that combo way too much, and I don't even play the deck, and it's so annoying. Anyways, and then you had the newer, when they had the BT12, it was like still the same but a little bit different. And then you had like the new style where I think it's gone better, where you got like Mike that's like, I hate the new style of Imperial Digimon, remember? Because now it's more crazy. Like source stripping, stunning, and also doing other shenanigans at the same time. And I think it works for it because
I understand where he's coming from.
Like what should you call it? Another one, Mastimon, right? Old school Mastimon versus new school Mastimon, and then now
was old school Mastimon really a thing?
Yeah, it was a deck like yellow. It was a yellow base Mastimon. That was the deck I played. That you were getting to Mastimon to rush out bodies. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to the point where you got to a DNA style where you was getting up to your 5s and then DNAing because it was more lore accurate. I think that's the issue. They went more accurate, lore accurate styles of decks. Not an issue, but I think that's how they went for their like power creep styles, right? Shine.
That makes sense.
Right? Yeah. There was no Marcuses back then.
Yes, Shine, yep.
And Shine became a Marcus.
There was
punch.
one, but it was red and it didn't play into the strategy at all.
Yeah. And then like so on. So I think that, which I think it was good for a lot of those decks. I wish some of those had like their own things. That old Force was a cool card by itself. But we'll see how it goes. IPM, I just remember IPM was the perfect power creep card. That new Ace one is so busted compared to that old one.
Well, the new one is quite something. But
IPM?
Just to wrap up, Imperial Paladin mode. But to wrap up, I understand where Mike is coming from with being upset about a favorite Digimon's new style of deck. Because Mike was very like, he hates the way that current Imperial is. And before, Dan and I were like, come on, bro, like it's fucking Imperial, like just play it, like it's better for what it is. But Bandai released Takemikazuchi mode, and that card does not play with BT14 Fenry at all. That card, that requires a completely different style and a completely different deck build. And I get where he's coming from. I like BT14 Fenry. I like what the deck does. And now when BT17 comes around, I have to build Takemikazuchi as an entirely different deck because it just doesn't play with the Kazuchi mode in any other way. Like, I get it. It's frustrating when you like the one way, the one style a deck plays and it changes and you're just like, well, damn. I mean, I'm sure All Force players might have felt the same way, but at the same time, it had been so long since All Force got good support that they were just like, hey, we got All Force.
Because like the whole idea of All Force back in the day was play tamers so you can be able to suspend them to unsuspend and so on. So you're doing the same thing now, but you're playing your tamer, which is mainly arena for free, and still getting that same unsuspend. And so you get the same style deck still, but you just can't play that old one. And that became a power creep in itself because that became a zero of you don't play at all. Like that gold Old Force, no one cared about it because you have the new Old Force.
All right.
Yeah. It was such a shame. But that's it. Adrian, did we touch on everything you wanted? Is that what you wanted to hear?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to get your thoughts on it because I know I know that people could sit on both sides of the fence when it comes to power creep, but me, like, personally, playing all the card games that I've played, like, you have to have power creep in order for the game's progression to continue. Like, it's just, if you get a set, because everybody complains about power creep, but then if you print a set where all the cards are worse than the previous set, you're going backwards, and we can't do that. So I just wanted to see if everybody has like the same kind of sentiment. There's such thing as too much power creep. I get that, but I mean, overall, I think Bandai has handled it pretty well with Digimon, and that might just be a structural thing because of the memory gauge and how it's constructed, or they might just be trying to pay as much attention to it as they can.
Nah, I think it's the memory gauge, because I look at DBS and the way that DBS progressed, and I'm like, here's barrier, and then here's a card that says, choose any card ignoring barrier. Like, what the fuck is that?
I think the only other thing that was like power creep that was like, I think changed the game forever was X antibodies. Like that was like big. took like
so did Aces.
Power level. That took the Dex power levels and brought them up here, as we see with like Numon, because Numon wasn't as good without Numon X and Monza X, and that deck now became so much better with those cards.
Ukomon.
Sure, Ukomon is just a menace. Like he needs.
I could guarantee you, if there was no Ukomon, it was still top in this format. That's how good Numa X and Monza X is.
That's the poll question for today. I'm making that the poll question. Does Numamon top without Ukomon? That's the poll question. I'm writing it down.
See, anyways, but I think Ukomon. I think Ukomon is just a really good support card. Like it allows you to do what you want to do, but just a little bit faster. Like I don't think it's detrimental. Like yes, Red Hybrid uses it, but they still do what they want to do, just faster now. Like it's still doing what it wants to do. I don't know. Ukomon can go to hell. That's all I would say.
Anyways, that is it. We're at an hour 50, so we're gonna wrap it up there. What's our parting words, boys?
Power creep is good for the game.
Yep, power creep is good.
Power creep is good. Part 2. Power creep isn't bad. Part 2.
Part 2.
Part undo. Anyways, that is it for today's episode of DigiPod, the digital podcast. So until we talk to you guys the next time, peace out.
Catch y'all on the next one.